In my after-school class, I've taught many middle schoolers how to play Pathfinder 2nd Edition, so I'm confident that adults can learn the game too. I am Ronald, the rules lawyer. I am a lawyer with 12 years experience game mastering tabletop role-playing games, including Pathfinder 1st Edition, Starfinder, and D&D 5th Edition, which I enjoyed, and my preferred system is Pathfinder 2nd Edition. I taught for 7 years a after-school middle school program. Pathfinder 2nd Edition has a reputation of being a Mathfinder, which is overblown. In the online D&D forums and forums for other tabletop role-playing games where I see people saying that about Pathfinder, the majority of those comments, when they go into it, are actually talking about the first edition of the game and not Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Pathfinder 2e has the deep character customization and complexity of previous editions of D&D. It has a rules engine that gets to that complexity while feeling streamlined in play. There's just a learning curve to learning those rules, and that's why I think that those who play it for the first time should not use the rules light variant I'm about to explain in this video, but get the beginner box and play that. The purpose of this video is to show, first, that this perception of 5e and Pathfinder 2e being entirely different orders of complexity is exaggerated, and also to show how, after you learn the beginner box, a simpler version of the game that can be more free-form. I say rules light in quotes. If you want a true rules light game that puts the fiction first, don't play Pathfinder 2nd Edition and consider not playing D&D 5th Edition. In the world of tabletop role-playing games, 5e is a tactical combat game. There are holes in places that a experienced GM or one who is good at improvisation can fill, but holes which not every DM can or wants to fill. I'll go over this rules light, or perhaps more accurately, less crunchy version of Pathfinder 2nd Edition, citing two official variant rules that are online. Links will be in the video description, and by the way, all of the rules for Pathfinder 2nd Edition are free and online. First, character creation. Character creation is simpler than most people assume. There are many options, yes, but there are free digital tools such as Pathbuilder and Wanderer's Guide that guide you through the step-by-step process of building a character. And if you limit yourself to the core rulebook, which both of those tools let you do easily, you rarely have to choose from a list of more than 5 things when you make any particular choice. And you can selectively add additional source books if you want to be that gunslinger or something else. And unlike in 5e, you don't have to pay anything to get access to all of the options in the main book, let alone all the books in the system. So I'll list what you have to pick under the base rules of each system. In D&D 5e, you have to pick a race, a sub-race, a background, and a class. If, like most players, you start at a higher level, you also choose a subclass. In Pathfinder 2nd Edition, you choose Ancestry, which is the equivalent of race, a heritage, an ancestry feat, a background, which gives you a skill feat, a class, and a subclass, and if you are a martial character, you choose a class feat. There are official variants in the rules that remove some of these steps. First is Simplified Ancestries. Instead of choosing an ancestry feat, you automatically get the lore feat for that ancestry, which gives you 2 skill proficiencies and proficiency in lore for your ancestry. You also do not gain any more ancestry feats as you level up. Simplified skill feats generally removes skill feats from the game. Skill feats are more situational feats that are related to one or more of your skills. However, some classes which get more skill feats than others will still be entitled to their bonus feats if they so choose. I would further add that the listed medicine skill feats, which are essential for parties to be able to recover between combats, are automatically choosable by characters who focus in medicine. The digital tools I mentioned unfortunately do not support these variants yet, but just choose the lore ancestry feat and ignore any skill feats, including the one you get for free from your background. What is left is extremely similar to what you would choose for a level 3 D&D character. You still have more choices as you level up. First I'm showing what the default rules have you choose, and then what these variant rules have you choose. But I would argue that most players like to make choices when they level up. Further, this can be made even simpler by using the official level 0 rules where you don't choose a class yet, and alternatively, the GM can have you become the apprentice for being a caster, martial, or alchemist, and get a couple of abilities. What results is that most of the feats you'll be choosing are class feats and are further expressing your class. The broader things, such as your character, their personality, their background, are now more free form, and so are the uses of your skills. As for equipment, Pathfinder also gives kits for your character depending on your class, just like 5e does. Some may want to choose a weapon. The weapons themselves are more complicated because there are traits that make them all unique. The Game Master can pare down these weapons to avoid the more complicated traits, such as forceful, sweep, and backswing. That was character creation, which you only have to go through once. And as for the gameplay, you will have the benefit of Pathfinder's 3-action economy, which most players who try out the system prefer over other systems' action economies. And the Game Master especially, but everybody gets the benefit of a encounter building system that works, where the GM can get a desired level of difficulty with every encounter. The accusation of there being too much math is overblown. First of all, the multiple attack penalty does give different bonuses to your one weapon depending on if you've made a previous attack this turn. That's why you should write down all of your bonuses, and that simplifies things greatly. There's also a fear that there are too many bonuses and penalties to have to add every turn. And 1st edition Pathfinder, which I love, and 3rd edition D&D, definitely had a problem with those bonuses, but that's been greatly reduced in Pathfinder 2nd edition. There are only 3 types of bonuses that are normally encountered. One is item bonuses, which you get from a magic item, which you just write down on your sheet and does not vary during play. The others are status bonuses, which usually come from magical spells and similar effects that affect your abilities, and then circumstance bonuses and penalties, which are what they sound like. Bonuses of the same type don't stack. So, for example, the Bard can inspire courage, which gives a +1 status bonus to all party members' attack rolls. And if the Cleric were to cast Bless, that also gives a +1 status bonus to attack rolls. So they don't stack. They are giving the same effect. So when the Bard casts Inspire Courage, because it is a status bonus, everyone in the party can pretty much correctly assume that other spells that give a bonus to attack, like Heroism in Pathfinder, will not add any more to it. Meanwhile, in D&D 5e, not everything boils down to advantage and disadvantage. If we were to do the same thing, the Bard gives Bardic Inspiration. That's a 1d6 that can be added to a future roll. And the Cleric casts Bless, that adds 1d4 to rolls in a combat. Those two things, first of all, they're dice, which are inherently more to add and vary every turn and more complicated, but they also stack with each other. And there's no limit to what you can stack in 5e. A Peace Domain Cleric, for example, would add yet another die to these dice, and these things adding up can bog down play. As for accommodating creative ideas in combat, it's arguably easier for a game master to improvise a way to adjudicate it, because the math underlying every statistic in the game uses the same formula. I'll show this formula on the screen. It's proficiency bonus plus ability bonus. Your proficiency bonus has its own chart. As you can see, if you're at least trained in something, your level is included. That means as a character or a monster is higher level, their attack bonuses, their ability DCs, their armor class even, and their saving throws all increase. Improvisation is further aided by the 3-action economy. So let's say a player wants to jump up, catch a chandelier, swing across the room, and attack an enemy on the other side. Well, the GM can say that will cost you 2 actions, no having to deal with action type. Do an acrobatics skill check. I'll give you a DC to try to meet. And at the end, I'll give you a +1 circumstance bonus to your attack. And determining DCs is quite simple. You can use one of these simple DCs or the DC by level chart, which further can be modified according to this chart. I need to comment on the big numbers in Pathfinder, which, yes, get big as you get to higher level. Well, first, that's because of the formula I described. The level is included. And so, if you want, there is an official variant called Proficiency Without Level, and the online reference sites that have all the monster stats, you can click something to remove the level from all of the statistics. Do I recommend this variant? Not for your first games. First of all, you'll be starting at lower levels where the numbers don't get very big. And second, you may find that you enjoy tense fights against a boss where everyone has to work together and feeling powerful, casting Fireball against a crowd of goblins who critically fail their save, because in Pathfinder, you critically fail if your result is 10 or more lower than your spell DC, and therefore take double damage from your Fireball. Also, virtual tabletops like Foundry auto-calculate things for you, and the character builders, Pathbuilder and Wanderer's Guide, let you roll from your character sheet. And also for game masters who are good with quick math, with players who are less good at that, the game master can also just say, you need this on your d20 to hit the goblin. So if you attack with your longsword and you have a +7 bonus, and want to hit an enemy with AC 17 and attack 3 times this turn, the numbers they need are 10, 15, 20. There are further options to make play easier. First, the default difficulty of Pathfinder 2e demands more tactics than some tables want to get into. So one thing to do is just use the encounter building system, which is reliable, and tune fights down a notch. Another is to use individual monster initiative so that not all monsters are acting in the same initiative count, which can knock out a player or two. Another is to reward more hero points. They are default to the system and should have been added to the beginner box, by the way, where every player starts with 1 at the start of a session, can earn more, just like inspiration can be earned in 5e. And this lets you re-roll a d20 roll, any d20 roll that you just rolled. You actually get to use it after the roll, which makes it more useful than inspiration. The other way to use hero points is to use up all of your remaining hero points to prevent your character from dying. Another rule to possibly simplify is the death and dying rules. In the default rules, you can go from dying 1 to dying 2 to dying 3 to dying 2 to dying 3. Basically, when you succeed on recovering from dying once, you are now stable. And a similar rule can be used for poison, which tracks the same way. Lastly, if you are a prepared spellcaster like a wizard who, unlike a sorcerer in Pathfinder 2e, when you cast a spell, you cross it off of your list of prepared spells that day. You basically have to predict how many times you'll cast a certain spell that day. There's an official archetype for your class called Flexible Spellcasting, which at the price of 1 spell slot per spell level lets you cast like casters do in 5e. One last option for game masters. If you want to not have to worry about giving magic items to the players that enhance their math, then you can use the automatic bonus progression variant, which is also free online. So that's it. These are some simple adjustments you can make. Again, play the beginner box for your first games, but in the end you can tune, just like you can tune encounter difficulties up and down in Pathfinder 2e, you can tailor the game to your desired level of complexity. And the default game, after all is said and done, is quite awesome, and you should try that. And hopefully this video helped demystify the system, gave you a sense of how GM and table friendly it is, and reminds you that you are in charge in the end, not the rules. So that's it. I am the Rules Lawyer. If you like this video, like it, share it with your friends, convince them to play Pathfinder 2e. Also join my Discord where you can play pickup games, support my Patreon since I'm an activist lawyer who does not get a salary, and I earn money from the Patreon and GMing. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time.